Hey stunning people, my name is Beane and welcome to the Salt Lick Sessions. Our next artist is like some combination of Troy Bolton and Elton John, and I think that you're gonna fall in love with him just the same. This is KIERAN RHODES.
When somebody loved me, everything was beautiful. Every hour we spent together lives within my heart. And when she was sad, I was there to dry her tears. And when she was happy, so was I. When she loved me, through the summer and the fall, we had each other, that was all. Just she and I together, like it was meant to be. And when she was lonely, I was there to comfort her. And I knew that she loved me. So the years went by, I stayed the same, but she began to drift away, and I was left alone. Still I waited for the day when she'd say, I will always love you. Lonely and forgotten, never thought she'd look my way. Smiled at me and held me just like she used to do. Like she loved me when she loved me. When somebody loved me, everything was beautiful. Every hour we spent together lives within my heart. When she loved me.
Hey KIERAN,
Hi, Beane.
thank you for being here.
I'm honored to be here.
Oh, well, we're honored to have you. Where are you from?
I'm from upstate New York.
Upstate New York. Where specifically?
I am from Saratoga. So
Does-
that's like around Albany.
Okay. And does Saratoga have a pop and music scene?
No.
No, not at all.
No, I mean, not really.
Well, where did
It's
you
just
learn?
like live bands at bars and
Okay.
restaurants,
Little cover band moment?
which is like, yeah, that's the vibe.
Yeah. Did you do any of that stuff when you lived there?
I did in high school, like middle of high school when I first started playing shows, I would go to bars and play Piano Man 1,000 times to drunk people.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was fun while it lasted, but
I'm sure they absolutely loved that.
I mean, it was great. But at one point, when I started getting serious about it and writing songs, I was like, okay, I actually want to play for people that want to listen to me and are going to listen to me.
When did that switch happen between the piano man at the bar and you doing your own songs?
When I first wrote my first song, I think senior year, and once I did that, I wanted to play those songs. And what I realized was when I would, people would just tune out. And I was like, okay, so I get it. You have to play some covers, and then you could play originals. But at least I was making progress, and I could sneak some originals in. But I do have this funny story. When I was playing at a pub called Carney's, we would play there like once a month, and I was playing a song, and some drunk lady like slipped by my keyboard and smacked the mic stand while I was singing the song, and it hit me in the face.
Not in the teeth.
In the middle of like the chorus.
Oh.
And I like stopped, but nobody was listening, so it was fine.
So it was fine. But I'm sure that hurt for a while.
Yeah, and I was really upset about it. But nobody was listening, so the show went on.
I'm sorry that happened though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all good.
For the people at home that might not know, that it is a very unique and specific pain to get a mic hit into your face.
It is.
Yeah.
Like the tooth, too.
Yeah, in the tooth.
Yeah,
And
but
it
I mean...
hurts. It's always a
does.
drunk lady.
It is. And I was upset with her.
Yeah.
She was hitting on me a lot, though, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there.
A lot to unpack there. But I'm very grateful for the experiences I gained in, like, the pub restaurant scene.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of taught me a lot about performing and playing for people and being comfortable in myself and at a piano bench. You know what I mean? It was like the foundation of where I am now.
You were on America's Got Talent.
I was.
Do you think that you pulled from your experience in the small pubs to perform on a stage that size?
Yeah, I think to some degree. I gathered a lot of tips and tricks, you know, performing and making mistakes and doing things like that. So like by the time America's Got Talent happened, I think that I was kind of ready to be on that stage and in that moment and perform, you know.
Was it terrifying?
I will not lie. It was.
Yeah.
It was very scary. And before I walked out on stage, I remember being very nervous, but my producer was sitting next to me, Courtney, and she's like an angel. I love her so much.
Shout out to Courtney.
Shout out to Courtney. Love her so much. She sat next to me and like put her arm around me. And she pretty much just said, hey, if they don't like you, F them.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, you're right.
And so it goes.
You're right. And I walked out on stage and I couldn't help but start smiling. And that's when I knew that I was going to be fine. Because as soon as I stepped out there and I saw the thousands of people and all the celebrity judges, I just started smiling. And I couldn't stop myself. I thought I was going to be really nervous and like shy, but I just couldn't help but smile. And that's when I knew that I was going to be fine. Because it was like, that's what I'm meant to do.
Oh, I love that. I'm also a singing show alumni.
Yeah. So what about you? I'll ask you the same question.
Well, what's the question?
The question was performing.
Oh, well, if it was scary.
Yeah.
Well, in my experience, my audition was in front of just 3 people.
Yeah.
And, you know, the 30 people on the crew that you don't see behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a different vibe than doing an America's Got Talent kind of audition.
Yeah.
Where you're in front of there's the whole theater, right?
Yeah, 3,000 people.
Yeah, right. See, totally different vibe. I probably would have preferred a vibe like yours, to be honest. Mine was very quiet and intimidating, and it's just you and the judges, and it's kind of scary in that regard.
Did you sing a cappella?
No, I was accompanied.
Okay.
Yeah, and they all said no.
They all said no.
They all said no, and then
And
I
how'd
asked
you
to do
get
one
on?
of my originals, and I played it, and then they said yes.
You played for 3 people. That was it. Okay.
Yeah.
I will say though, the fact that there were 3,000 people there made it so much easier. Because that is like my job. Like that's who I am, is to do that, to play for those people.
Yeah.
So when I walked out there and I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm just doing this, and 4 judges happened to be there deciding if
As
they
well.
like me or not.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
But if I was in a room like this with like 4 judges, I feel like it would be a lot more, there'd be a lot more pressure.
It's very scary. A lot of that dead silence with like the sneaker squeak noise. You know?
But it was funny though, because before I started playing, I just remember hearing nothing. It was like you could have heard a pin drop like right before I started playing, and that was a very like weird moment. Because I was like, okay, hope my fingers work. And then I started playing. I was like, good. I am grateful that I was able to play Disengage because that was like, this is me. I don't like the whole America's Got Talent opportunity kind of like it seeked me out. and I would have never like. I think it sought me out.
I like seeked too.
That's a good one.
Yeah. It was the confidence that really saw it. Yeah.
That is true. The whole America's Got Talent opportunity kind of sought me out. I did not go stand in the line. I did not apply. I don't know how your situation was. Did you apply?
It sought me out as well.
They sought me out.
Seeked me out. Sorry.
Yeah, seeked me out.
Yeah.
Yes. So I played at something at Berkeley, and I just played my song, like 90 seconds of it, for like a panel of people. It was just like another thing. And Liza was there. Liza was at the thing. And she, I played the song. Nothing happened. 2 weeks later, I got a call from the Career Center at Berkeley, and they called me down, and one of the people that was on the panel was on a Zoom call in the Career Center, and she was like, hey, I heard you play, I want to pull you onto the show. And it was like the last thing I could have ever imagined happening. And it taught me a lot about like life and how it kind of works, because that fall was like the worst fall. I was struggling a lot with depression, and that's when I wrote the song Disengage, was going through all of that hard stuff. And after that opportunity happened, I was like, oh, okay, I think I understand. So like things can be bad, but they will always get better. And what were the 2 hardest months of my life turned into the most important and essential months of my life, because if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't have written that song. If I didn't write that song, I wouldn't have had all of that happen for me. But that being said, that song kind of represented who I was as an artist. And going on to that show, I was nervous that they were going to like egg my story on or like make me say something fake. I didn't know how it worked. Because I knew it was television, so I knew there was going to be some drama aspect. So I was nervous if they were going to like make me the underdog or whatever it was. But I feel like they portrayed me as who I am, like completely. And I mean, minus the edit. But like, I'm grateful with my time on that show. I mean, I didn't make the semifinals, but honestly, I left on a high note, and I feel like I already won, just because of what I got from that experience, and I'm so grateful for it.
Well, I'm glad that you have that outlook on it. It's refreshing.
Yeah. So wait, what about you?
What about me?
You said that you struggled with your.
Oh yeah, but I'm just generally a pessimistic, grumpy person. If you can't tell.
Was it like your original? Like, are you saying?
Well, they didn't show my original.
They didn't show you.
And I would say that one of the things that's tricky about doing the type of shows that you and I did is that you are subject to somebody else's perspective of what is important, of the things that you give them and the content you give them. So you make hours and hours of content, and it gets all pared down to a minute and a half, 2 minutes of footage, and you don't have any control over what, that is. Yeah. So in my particular case, it was a very bubbly, happy-go-lucky edit. And so then there was a disconnect between the things that I post and the way that I present myself and the way that I was presented on the show. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. And so there's just some confusion there to navigate as an artist, and a way to kind of now pull people into what I was already doing before they got this kind of misconstrued idea of what I do.
So what do you think the misconstrued idea was?
Well, you really are flipping this back on me.
Yeah, well, I'm curious.
I'll take it. It's a good key.
I just want to have a conversation.
Yeah. For me, they had this kind of evolution stage of me coming into myself in the way that I present, and the makeup that I would wear, the outfits that they would put me in. Yeah. When in reality, I was doing all that stuff before the show started. Yeah. But the way that they had me dress, act, talk, walk was in a way that kind of evolved me back into that space that I was existing in already prior to the show. Yeah. And so like, for example, my audition, which is everybody's introduction to us on a big scheme. Yes. I had like short cut hair and wore like a jacket and a sweater, and like it was just very kind of like buttoned up kind of thing. Very smiley like you were as well. Yeah. I was equated a lot to Mr. Rogers as a character, which is fascinating to me. Yeah. And then throughout that, they would slowly introduce things like wardrobe would get more involved in your aesthetic. Song choices would be more catered to the narrative that they've already chosen for you, And so they just kind of, it's easier to sell their contestants and to market their contestants if they can put them in a box.
Yeah.
You know? And so the box that they put me in isn't necessarily the box that I identified with fully. You know?
No. And the fact is that it's all television.
It's all television.
And that's why. I mean, and that's why when I didn't make it to the semifinals, I did not take it personally.
It's okay.
At all.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this isn't a music show.
Yeah.
Like, America's Got Talent is a variety show.
It's a variety show.
It's a variety show.
All entertainment.
And it's all entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, so they changed my song like a day before I flew out to LA for my audition. So I was freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
They told me, they wanted me to play New York State of Mind by Billy Joel. Because they were like, they weren't going to say, do this song. They just said, we want something like this. So I was able to choose, hey, this is what I want to do this. And they would say yes or no. So they were okay with New York State of Mind. And I had practiced that and I was ready for that. And then a day before I flew out, they called me and they were like, hey, you know, I don't know, Simon seems to not be liking these piano bar vibes. I think you should play a Billy Joel ballad. And I was like, okay. What can I do?
Like a Billy Joel ballad isn't a piano bar vibe?
Exactly. And so She's Got Away is what I ended up doing. So I had to like learn that in a day. And I remember flying out. I didn't feel confident with it. I didn't have a piano in my hotel room.
Right. No,
my audition was in a day. So all I had was a day before that in the America's Got Talent practice room. And I only had like an hour or two in that. So I was just like stressed, just like trying to make sure that I felt 100% comfortable with the song. But the truth is you'll never really have that time because things are always moving. So you always wish you had more time, but you never will.
Yeah, totally.
But
well, it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the whole thing, I told my producer, I was like, I want to do an original song. I need to do an original song. And she was like, I know you do. And I think that you could, but we need you to start with a cover because that way it can introduce you to all of these people. And then they can be like, oh, I think I like this person. Now I can hear what he has to offer. And I was like, okay, I get it. And I was like, Courtney, I'm doing Disengage. And I remember telling her that. And it ended up happening. And I'm very grateful for that because he could have just stopped me after She's Got Away and that could have been that.
Well, I think it's kind of a commentary for how the industry works at large.
Yeah.
Which is you're always going to have people above you that have an idea of how they can use what you do and your talent.
Yeah.
And it might not be fully in line with how you think it should be used or utilized. And it's just really important for artists that are at the stage that we're at right now to have that awareness and that mindfulness at all times.
True.
So that you don't fall into being manipulated and being taken advantage
for sure.
of.
'Cause
They are
it's
very,
super scary.
like, there are just a lot of people in the industry that can be very parasitic.
Yeah.
That would love to get you signed up into a deal just to do nothing with you.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard that story time and time again.
And
so watch out.
I was ready.
Be vigilant.
Also, I was ready to pull out of AG. Like if they got a little too bossy or like a little too, you're doing this. Like I was nervous going into it about the whole drama television thing. So I was ready to pull the plug at any second if they were pushing me too hard or if I didn't feel like I was being myself. And you know, I was able to do that and, you know, do my thing. But, you know, that original song was definitely something that I was very grateful to have done because I would not have done The Voice or American Idol because I don't feel like I'm a singer. I feel like I'm a piano player and a songwriter. And then I'm a singer.
Okay.
So, like, me as a songwriter, like, that's who I am. So I feel like going on the America's Got Talent stage and playing a cover or just standing with a microphone, like, would not be me. Like, the reason I am who I am is because I can write songs. And that's, like, that's why I'm here. It's, you know, it's why I'm here. So I wouldn't have done The Voice or American Idol because I'm not I can't be a cover singer. I don't feel like, I can't riff. I'm not a belter. You know, I sing what I can sing, you know? Yeah. I don't have that kind of flashy element. You know, I kind of just do what I do. And I think America's Got Talent was that in between. Like, I could be accepted for what I do. Because there's also, like, magicians and people who, like, swallow fire and dancers and clowns and, like, comedians. All these people that just do their thing. And I was like, okay, I could be recognized for my thing.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah, that's super interesting. Why did you choose to cover the Randy Newman tune?
I have always been a big Disney fan. I think if I was exposed to a lot of Disney growing up, a lot of movies, and like a lot of really good storytelling. And I think it just soaked in, and I really do believe that's why I'm a songwriter now. Is because of Disney and because of these songs that I heard as a kid and these just wonderful worlds that were kind of created. And you know, Randy Newman has been an influence on me ever since I started writing a few years ago, and he's just a beautiful soul, and I hope I get to meet him someday.
You will.
I really do.
I feel like that scene from Toy Story 2 is so poignant in a way that when you're young you don't even necessarily understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Something about that, the way that music works in that scene is so impactful on everyone, and your version of it was stunning.
Oh, thank you so much.
It was
that
really
scene
beautiful.
that scene is heavy.
I
I watched it again as an older kid, and I was like, oh, okay, so I get a little bit more about it. Like, and it worked for me when I was little too. Like, it made me upset when I was little.
Oh yeah.
But now it's like I have a whole new meaning to that because I've lived through more things, and you know, that song can be interpreted in so many different ways, and that's why it's so effective. You know, it could be When She Loved Me.
Oh, it's so
in any context, any she, you know.
Yeah, it's so good. And your version was great. It was really great.
Thank you.
Yeah. What do you think the version of you who was playing piano bars and doing the little thing up in Saratoga?
Yeah.
Up in Saratoga.
Ish.
Saratoga-ish. What do you think he would think of where you are now?
I think he'd be very surprised.
Why?
He'd be very surprised. Well, I mean, during that time, like, baseball was very prominent. I mean, I almost went to college for baseball. I mean, I was like a jock. I was like that kid in high school. I'm not proud of myself in high school, by the way. But that's what I did. I mean, I was gone year round. I was never home for any summers. I would leave school, and then I would get in the car pretty much and bounce from tournament to tournament to tournament all over the place. Just playing for scouts and doing showcases and, you know, trying to get myself in front of like Division I colleges. That was like my whole life until like middle of high school. So like that whole, like, I mean, sometimes I wake up at Berkeley and I'm like, what? My life is so different than it was like 6 years ago. Because 6 years ago, I don't even think I would want to be a musician. Like, I wanted to be a professional baseball player 6 years ago, probably.
Right. Well,
you know, like,
Troy Bolton is shaking in his boots, quaking. You're coming for his gig.
Yeah, life took a very crazy right turn. But the weirdest thing is that I was so sure that it, like, I sat down at the piano one day and I just like knew it. I was the weirdest thing, and I've just been reading the signs ever since I sat down that one day. Like, everything just made sense. It was really weird. Like, I can't even like think about it now because it just like blows my mind. It's so above me. I have no idea.
Well, I'm glad that you had that moment. Everybody who is a fan of you is glad that you had that moment, and we can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for being here, Kieran. You did an incredible job.
Thank you
and
for
I can't wait
having
to hear.
me. It's good to meet you.
An original?
Can you hear an original?
Yeah.
You can hear original.
Cool. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
You don't get out that much, do ya? Sleeping in the same old soil can really do that to ya. You could go anywhere you like, visit your grandkids or take a hike, but man, you look rotten, and you never leave your coffin. Oh, living people, where have you gone? I'm getting restless and I don't know how to move on. Last year I was picking roses, and now I'm buried, decomposing. Man, you don't have to be dead to lose your head. Alright. You don't love yourself much, do ya? Whoa. And holding it all inside is like letting the worms crawl through ya. You could see anything you please, travel the world, scare your nephew and niece. But man, you gotta stop this. No one's ever seen a ghost this haunted. Oh, living people, where have you gone? I'm getting restless and I don't know how to move on. Last year I was picking roses, and now I'm buried, decomposing. Man, you don't have to be dead, 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 decomposing. Man, you don't have to be dead. You don't have to be dead. So hold on to your head. You might lose it.
Hey stunning people, it's Beane. Make sure to check out the Salt Lick Sessions YouTube channel and subscribe.